Discussing the developmental growth of teenagers. Now, the reason that I chose this age group was because, as an education major, this is one of the age groups I'm considering teaching, and I thought it would be really beneficial for me to do some research so I know what I'm jumping into. So, the first section we're going to be discussing is physical development. Now, during adolescence, children experience a range of physical changes. Girls usually begin their growth spurt at around 2 years earlier than boys. Most girls start growing rapidly at age 7, hit their fastest rate of growth at age 12, and reach their full height around age 15. Boys, on the other hand, tend to start their growth spurt at age 13, reach peak growth by 14, and attain their adult height by age 15. Growth typically begins with the head, hands, and feet, followed by the arms and legs. The trunk and shoulders are the last areas to develop. Because of these uneven growth patterns, teenagers may appear out of proportion at times. For example, their heads and hands might look too large compared to the rest of their body. However, these imbalances are temporary as the slower growing parts eventually catch up. By the start of adolescence, the brain has almost reached its adult size. It's about 95% of the adult brain size and weight. However, this stage is still crucial for refining how the brain works. Two key processes that begin early in life and are nearly finished by adolescence are myelination, the buildup of fatty layer that helps neurons send signals faster, and synaptic pruning, which removes unneeded connections between neurons. These developments allow various parts of the adolescent brain to connect more efficiently, helping teens process information more quickly than younger children. Another key trait of the adolescent brain is that while some areas mature faster during this stage, others do not. Brain systems that respond to rewards, particularly those linked to peer approval, often develop during adolescence. But the regions involved in self control don't fully mature until adulthood. This imbalance leaves teens vulnerable. The systems that seek out rewards and pleasure are more advanced than those that regulate behavior. As a result, even if adolescents understand the risk of certain actions, the appeal and excitement of risk can overpower the ability to resist engaging in them. During adolescence, individuals not only grow taller and gain weight, but they also reach sexual maturity. This process involves changes in primary sex characteristics, which are the reproductive organs directly responsible in reproduction. It also includes the development of secondary sex characteristics, visible physical traits that initiate or indicate sexual maturity but are not directly related to the reproductive system. The physical changes that come with puberty create unique nutritional requirements for the body. On average, teenage girls need around 2,200 calories per day, while boys typically need about 2,700. Teens also require extra calcium to support bone development and iron to produce hemoglobin, the substance in red blood cells that carries oxygen. Boys need more hemoglobin due to increased muscle mass, and girls need it to compensate for blood loss during menstruation. Alright, now let's look at social emotional development. Teenagers are very conscious of the physical changes happening in their bodies. Unsurprisingly, these changes also have an impact on their psychological development. Adolescents tend to be more focused on their appearance than children or adults. Many teens frequently check the mirror for signs of physical changes. In general, girls are more concerned than boys about how they look and are more likely to feel unhappy with their appearance. However, both boys and girls especially like to feel dissatisfied whenever their parents or peers tease them, or when friends peer pressure them to alter how they look. Adolescents often seen as especially moody, shifting quickly from happiness to sadness, which is commonly attributed to hormone changes of puberty. While teens are indeed moodier than children or adults, this moodiness isn't mainly caused by hormones. Research shows that sudden hormone surges can lead to increased irritability and impulsiveness, but these effects are generally small and mostly occur in early adolescence. Rather than hormones, teenage mood swings are largely due to frequent changes in their activities and their social environments. Teens report feeling happier when with friends or during leisure time, but tend to feel worse in adult controlled settings like school or part time jobs. Because adolescents often switch between different activities and social groups multiple times a day, they seem moodier than adults. Because there are so many reasons that teenagers drink, no single method can completely prevent alcohol abuse. Teens who drink to relieve stress may benefit from therapy that teaches healthier ways to manage tension. Interactive school programs that include student led discussions can effectively provide information about alcohol and help students develop skills to resist peer pressure. Preventing teens from starting to drink regularly is crucial, as adolescent drinking increases the risk of developing alcohol dependence, depression, or anxiety later on in life. Alright, now let's look at identity and the four identity statuses. Erik Erikson's theory of identity formation has greatly shaped how we understand adolescence. He proposed that teenagers face a crisis between identity and role confusion. This involves balancing the exploration of various possible selves with the need to commit to one. Adolescents who successfully develop a clear sense of identity are better equipped to tackle the next challenge, forming close, meaningful relationships with others. In contrast, Erikson believed that teens confused about their identity struggle with intimacy, tend to stay isolated, and often respond to others in a stereotyped way. How do adolescents develop identity? They apply hypothetical reasoning abilities gained in the formal operation stage to try out various selves and explore possible identities. Their advanced thinking skills allow them to envision themselves in different roles and situations. As adolescents work towards forming an identity, they often go through various phases or statuses. Unlike Piaget's stages, these four phases don't always happen in a fixed order. Most early teens are in either diffusion or full closure. In these states, they are not actively exploring different identities. They're either avoiding the identity crisis entirely or settle on an identity chosen by parents or adults. As individuals transition from adolescence to young adulthood and gain more chances to explore different identities, diffusion and foreclosure tend to decrease, while achievement and moratorium become more common. So, the first stage that they have listed is diffusion, and this is the individual is overwhelmed by the task of achieving an identity and does not feel and does little to accomplish the task. Alright, now foreclosure. The individual has status determined by adults rather than their personal exploration. Moratorium. The individual is examining different alternatives but has yet to find one that's satisfactory. And then achievement is the individual has explored alternatives and has deliberately chosen a specific identity. Identity isn't fixed during adolescence. Both teens and adults periodically reassess different parts of their identity. Sometimes these reflections confirm their chosen path. For example, a college student who has wanted to become an elementary school teacher might feel certain about this decision after enjoying tutoring a young child. Other times, these evaluations lead to people rethinking their identity, such as a teenager who identifies with a religious group but realizes that her values don't align with most members, promoting her to question that part of her identity. These kinds of reassessments cause adolescents and young adults to move back and forth between moratorium and achievement. Alright, now let's look at depression. The difficulties faced during adolescence can cause some young people to experience depression. When depressed, teenagers often feel deeply sad, becoming irritable, struggle with low self esteem, have trouble sleeping, and find it hard to focus. By the time they reach 17, approximately 20% of girls and 15% of boys show signs of depression. Depression is frequently sparked by stress, such as social exclusion, setbacks at school or work, or conflicts with others. However, many teenagers experience these stresses without becoming depressed. In addition, genetics can make some teens more vulnerable to depression. Negative thinking patterns, like seeing failure as a proof of a personal flaw or feeling powerless over life events, also increase the risk of developing depression. Psychotherapy can effectively help adolescents dealing with depression. In cognitive behavioral therapy, teens are taught to replace negative thoughts like self blame with more positive ones and to engage in more enjoyable and rewarding activities. Interpersonal therapy focuses on improving social skills to better handle relationship problems with family and peers. Medications such as fluoxetine or Prozac are also beneficial. While most adolescents respond well to these treatments, up to 40% may not improve with a single approach, such as interpersonal therapy alone. These individuals often need a combination of psychotherapy and medication. All right, and then the last section that we're going to talk about is cognitive development. Working memory is where active cognitive processing takes place, while processing speed refers to how quickly basic mental tasks are completed. Both abilities reach adult levels during adolescence. Teenagers' working memory capacity is similar to that of adults, enabling them to hold information needed for ongoing thinking more effectively than children. Processing speed also improves and demonstrated by a simple task where participants press a button as fast as possible in response to a visual cue. Reaction time steadily decreased from about 1/3 a second at age 8 to 1/4 of a second by age 12, then remains fairly stable. This trend is seen not only in simple tasks but also across various cognitive activities. Adolescents generally process information almost as fast as young adults. These improvements mean that compared to children, teens process information more efficiently. This increased efficiency is linked to brain development, as greater myelination during adolescence speeds up nerve signals transmission, enhancing cognitive processing. As children transition into adolescence, they gain adult level knowledge and understanding across many areas. This growing knowledge is valuable in itself, but it also helps teens learn, comprehend, and remember new experience more effectively. With increased content knowledge, adolescents also improve their ability to select suitable strategies for specific tasks and to monitor those strategies to ensure they are effective. When tackling problems, two main approaches are often used. The first is relying on heuristics. Heuristics. Okay, sorry. Simple rule of thumb that don't always guarantee a correct solution but are helpful for many problems. Heuristics are usually quick and require minimal effort, though they may not always produce accurate results. The second approach involves solving problems through mathematical or logical reasoning, which is deliberate and effortful but generally more precise than heuristics. Heuristics are used across childhood, adolescence, and adulthood, but adolescents tend to use analytical approaches more often. This means that teens are more likely than children to apply logic or math, such as advising Gabriella to choose the phone with a higher consumer rating. This shift reflects adolescents' development of formal operational thinking, as well as their increased working memory. which is necessary because analytical thinking demands more effort, and improved self regulation, which helps them override quickly and intuitive heuristics. Adolescents also become more skilled in identifying weaknesses in arguments. In logical reasoning, they can detect flaws in others' reasoning. In scientific reasoning, teens understand the risk of drawing broad conclusions from very small samples. For example, they would be cautious about assuming that people from another country are especially friendly based on only meeting two individuals from that country. Naturally, adolescents don't always apply their reasoning skills effectively. They may rely on heuristics because these require less effort and are often good enough for problem solving. Additionally, their personal beliefs can sometimes hinder clear thinking. When faced with evidence that contradicts their beliefs, adolescents might disregard the evidence as irrelevant or reinterpret it to fit their existing views. All right, and then this is my resources list. Thank you.